Hey guys, this is Warhawk Beyond 2040 and welcome to the final edition of the Arrow Season 8 review series, and today I'm going to be talking about Episode 10, the series finale, Fadeout. Now, when it was announced that Arrow was going to end after Season 8 with just 10 episodes, I was very curious about how they were going to pull that off and how obviously would the show end with its final episode. Very few shows, especially in the superhero genre, very rarely get up to 8 seasons, and the only other show that's ever got past 8 seasons was obviously Smallville. Now, in those 8 seasons of Arrow, we've seen a hell of a lot of things happen, and it's played a big part in opening the door for so many other heroes to not only make an appearance, but for certain heroes to get their own spin-off show. I mean, The Flash got his own spin-off show when Barry Allen appeared in 2 episodes back in Season 2. We've seen guys like the Atom make an appearance and went on to play a big part in Legends of Tomorrow. Now, if you'd said to me a guy like the Atom would appear on TV and end up playing a big part in a TV show, I would have said you was crazy. There's no way they would give a guy like the Atom the time of day, let alone have him appear in a superhero live-action TV show. But Brandon Routh was casted and he did an excellent job in my opinion, and before I knew it I owned pretty much every season of Arrow by that point, and I thought it was a fantastic show. And I'm really sorry I didn't watch it the first time round when it first came out, but you know, better late than never. But overall, it's been a hell of a ride. I'm not going to lie, there's been some ups and downs with certain episodes in certain seasons, but by and large I would say Arrow has been a fantastic show, and it does kind of in a way close the door for Oliver Queen, but at the same time it leaves the door open for other heroes. Now, whether those questions will be addressed in other shows or maybe in their own spin-off shows, that's going to be a very interesting conversation for another time. So let's get right into it. Let's talk about episode 10, the series finale, Fadeout. So we kick off this episode with a voiceover montage of Oliver Queen giving us a very general recap of his journey from when he was trapped on the island, to when he made his return to Starling City, to when he became the Green Arrow, all the way up to his death when he sacrificed himself to restart the entire universe. And at the end of that montage he declares that in some ways that a part of him will always be the Green Arrow. I thought the way that this episode began was really cool because it's showing all of us everything that's happened from the first episode all the way up to the present, which is the series finale. So I thought that was a very cool trip down memory lane, and it really shows you how much the Oliver Queen character has grown from being a spoilt little brat to becoming a noble hero in his own right. So I thought this was a very cool retrospective, if you will, of all the events that have occurred across all 8 seasons. So we are brought to Starling City 2014. Now, everyone remembers this scene very well. This was the night that Deathstroke murdered Oliver Queen's mother, Moira Queen, but this time, due to Oliver's sacrifice, the events of this moment play out very differently. Now, we all remember that Deathstroke stabbed Moira Queen and she dies, but however, events take a different turn. We see Oliver frees himself and takes down Deathstroke and saves his mother, and we see in the present, due to Oliver Queen's sacrifice, Moira Queen is alive and well, so she never technically died, and she talks to the Emerald Archer documentary crew about knowing about that alternative reality. She explains that Oliver's friends have told her that he's the reason everything's changed and that their world is a gift from him. We also see Dinah Drake is next, talking about processing everything, as does Renee, touching on Oliver's legacy. John Diggle also talks about struggling a bit with the loss of Oliver Queen. Once the cameras stop, Renee goes to chat with him and they talk about how Oliver fixed everything. He got rid of crime in Star City and it's time to honour him. At the bunker we see everybody who's ever appeared in the show. We see Roy Harper toasting Oliver and they chat about their future. We also see Quinton Lance is alive and well and he's still the mayor and he's endorsing Renee as his replacement. We see Dinah Drake is chief of police and John Diggle feels that things aren't over. Also we get another flashback, this time in Starling City 2012, and John Diggle wants to help Oliver in the field. Oliver resists and researches his next target, John Byrne, a human trafficker. Diggle wants to know how many names are on the list. Now remember, back in season 1, Oliver Queen used to have a little brown book of all of the names that he was going to target and take out. So we see this here again, and Oliver tells Diggle that the mission is never over, and we are treated to another flashback of the night that the Gambit boat sank and Robert Queen still ends his life, and then we are moved forward to Star City 2040 where we see Mia Smoke wakes up in her bed and Sarah is standing there having time portaled to come and get her for Oliver's funeral. We see at the bunker Laurel is still struggling. Roy gives Dinah her Marker 4 tattoo and reveals that he's nervous to talk to Thea. It's also revealed that Emiko is alive. Now remember, at the end of season 7, Emiko was like a renegade sort of version of the Green Arrow, and she dies, but we see here she's now alive and well thanks to Oliver's sacrifice. And we're treated to another flashback where we see John Diggle continuing to clash with Oliver about joining him in the field, with Diggle trying to still convince him that there are other ways to get justice than just killing people, and losing himself isn't worth it. I've always said from the beginning that John Diggle is like a combination of Nightwing and Alfred. He's got the loyalty of Alfred, but he's also got kind of like that no-nonsense attitude of Nightwing, where he's not afraid to tell Oliver what he needs to know, really, and give him that kick up the ass that he needs. So John Diggle's probably one of the best characters on the show, and he's probably my favourite after Oliver, of course. And you know, he's just an awesome character, and I love David Ramsey. He's a fantastic actor, and in many ways, you know, John Diggle's been there right from the beginning since Arrow started, and it's really good to see that he's been showcased a lot in this episode. We're then taken back to the present where we see Mia is using the computer in the bunker and tells Dinah that something happens in the future concerning William's kidnapping, and she currently feels helpless. The news then breaks out in the present that the younger version of William has been kidnapped from Central City. Now, for many of you who remember, at the end of episode 9 of Green Arrow and the Canaries, William was kidnapped, but however, we also see in this episode, William is also kidnapped. So just to make things clear, the William that is kidnapped in this episode is his younger self, and the one that we saw was his older self at the end of episode 9. So I thought I'd just quickly clear that up. The team all agree that their mission is to save William, and that's when we see none other than Felicity Smoke make her return. Now, this is the first time we've seen Felicity Smoke since the end of season 7. As we all know, Emily Bett Rickett left at the end of season 7, so she hasn't been seen in season 8 of Arrow at all, but we've had references about Felicity and they've mentioned her a number of times, so it is only fitting that for the final ever episode of Arrow that we have Felicity Smoke back in the fold. And to be honest, really, I know she can be written as very annoying at times, but I'll be completely honest, it wouldn't be the same without her, because Felicity Smoke has been there since the very beginning through all 7 seasons, and for the final episode it just wouldn't be the same without her being there. So I'm really glad that she's back, and it's really good to have her back on the show. We also see Ragman is back, as is Curtis and Lila, so we pretty much got the entire Team Arrow back together for one last round, and Felicity is sitting behind the console like she's never left, and Felicity reveals that she implanted a tracker into William, but it's not helpful now, and she gets a list of possible locations, and now the entire team assembles to try and locate where William is and go to save him. Thea and Roy, in their Speedy and Arsenal gear, check out one location and he's not there, but before they go to the next, Roy opens up to Thea about all the stuff that he's been through, and he pops the question to her by asking her to marry her. I'm not really surprised, because these two have been on a very long journey since season 2, so it makes perfect sense that these two finally get married, because they're meant to be together, and I like these two. I like Roy and Thea. They're cool guys, they're cool characters, but I like Roy Harper more, but it's only fitting that we get a little happy ending for those two. They deserve it after everything they've been through. Meanwhile, in another location, we see Ragman and Renee clear it, and he uses his rags at long last, and he's been fighting for justice to honour Oliver. We then see Ragman and Renee work together, and Ragman tells Renee that he is also a member of this team. Ragman tells Renee that you're a lot like him in many ways, and Renee looks at it as a compliment. Digger and Lila clear the other area, and William's kidnapping has her rattled, as she feels indebted to Oliver for giving them back their daughter. Green Arrow Mia then lands on a rooftop and finds William. John Byrne has him. A flashback explains the significance. We see that Oliver located Byrne back in the day, but he didn't kill him. Instead, we had Oliver put him in prison and ruin his life. So we cut back to the present, and Mia decides not to kill him either. Like father, like daughter. He is then sent back to prison. Back at the bunker, Felicity learns that the older Mia is actually her daughter, and this puts her into a dilemma about things, whether she should go to talk to her or not, in case the timeline could go into a flux. The news reports that Oliver inspired a whole new line of heroes, including a new Green Arrow. We then cut back to another flashback as we see Oliver giving John Diggle training tips, and tells him that he didn't kill Byrne, he actually took Diggle's advice. At the Queen Mansion, Thea finally accepts Roy's marriage proposal. We also see Laura meets with Quinton Lance as she's having trouble existing in this new Earth, and that Earth 1 Laura was not brought back even after Oliver fixed everything. Yeah, I'm a bit surprised about that, because, with Oliver sacrificing himself and essentially rebooting the universe, I'm quite surprised we didn't get the original Laura back. Oh well, can't have it always. Quinton tells Laurel that Oliver didn't fix the Laurel situation because it didn't need fixing. At the bunker, we see Diggle, Dinah and Renee have another moment together and turn off the bunker's lights one final time. Yeah, this is really the end now. And later we see a statue of the Green Arrow is unveiled in Star City, as we see all of Team Arrow and all of the citizens of Star City pay tribute to the Green Arrow and all of his heroics. Yeah, this was a nice moment. This was a real nice fitting tribute to the Green Arrow / Oliver Queen. We then see Quinton Lance give a speech about how he used to hate Oliver Queen so much, but over the course of time he got to know him more and realised that he was not only a changed person but a great man underneath. Yeah, this was a real nice fitting tribute, because as we all remember, in the earlier seasons Quinton Lance couldn't stand Oliver Queen, but over the course of time their relationship completely changed and it almost became like a father/son sort of relationship. So this was a real nice fitting eulogy / speech from Quinton Lance to Oliver Queen. Shortly after the unveiling of the Green Arrow statue, we're then taken to the funeral where Thea explains why Oliver couldn't bring their dad back from the dead. Moira explains that Oliver could only change the things that didn't change him, meaning Robert Queen remains dead. Fair enough. Amiko approaches Moira and Thea as the sister of the family and is welcomed by both ladies with open arms. Yeah, this was something we should have got in season 7, but glad we're getting it here. Also, due to Oliver's sacrifice of restarting the universe, we see Tommy Merlin has been restored and he is talking to Laurel of Earth 2 and reveals that he's aware of the reality in which he's dead, and he also explains that Laurel of Earth 1 was actually his wife at one point, but it's unclear what her fate is, though it's been implied that she's dead and remains dead. Yeah, it's too bad. Nyssa and Talia al Ghul are both present at the funeral. Yeah, it's always nice to see the lovely Katrina Law and the lovely Lexa Doge, so it's great to see them back here. And Nyssa explains that her marriage to Oliver has been erased. Mia introduces herself to Felicity as her daughter and explains that she actually got to meet her father Oliver. They hug, and then we also see Barry Allen is there to pay his condolences, as does Kara. Barry explains that he was there right to the very end when Oliver gave his life, and he explains that he wishes he could have done more, and Felicity says, "You did everything that you could do, Barry." Anatoly is present as well, and they explain that there's no body in the caskets, that are just a bunch of mementos, and John Diggle offers a eulogy honouring Oliver's journey and his ultimate sacrifice. Shortly after, we begin to see everyone moving on with their lives, and we see that Lila Michaels takes her children to Metropolis. So this is possible that we could see John Diggle show up in the future Superman and Lois TV show. You never know. Mia Smoke returns to the future. Renee oversees his campaign as mayor, and we see Dinah Drake heads into the unknown on her motorcycle, and then we see something crash from the sky into the ground, and John Diggle pulls it out of the crater, and we see him open the box, and we see a glowing green light shine on his face. You know, I've been saying from the very beginning that I would have loved to have seen in the final season of Arrow, John Diggle finally becomes the Green Lantern and reveals himself to be John Stewart, or takes the name John Stewart, and we never got that here. I mean, I was hoping that maybe we'd finally see this in the final episode, but we didn't really, so hopefully they'll pay this off in some shape or form in another Arrowverse show. I really do, because it would be a real shame to just leave it like that. I would have preferred if we see Diggle put the ring on and we see like a big flash of green light and he just shoots off into the sky. That would have been a fitting moment, but again, we're just going to have to wait and see. And we get one final flash forward to Star City in 2040, and we're taken to season 7 where we see Felicity Smoke is with the Monitor, and the Monitor explains to Felicity that once you do this, that there is no going back. Are you ready? And Felicity explains that I've been waiting a long time to see Oliver. Let's do it. And we're taken back to the beginning of season 1, where Oliver and Felicity first met, and this is Oliver's afterlife. And the two of them embrace each other, and Oliver explains that we have all the time in the world, and that pretty much is the end of Arrow. I thought the ending was okay. It wasn't terrible, but I felt it could have been a lot better. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more of John Diggle, and like I said, it would have been nice to have actually seen him become the Green Lantern. But I suppose in a way it makes perfect sense, because the show started with Oliver and Felicity, and it's only fitting that the show ends with Oliver and Felicity, so in a way it kind of brings everything together and brings everything full circle, in my opinion. So that just about wraps it up for the Arrow Season 8 review series. The next time I will be back, I will be doing a special bonus video of my top 10 or maybe top 20 moments. I'm not really entirely sure, but I will definitely be doing a special video of all of my top favourite moments from all 8 seasons of Arrow. And I hope you've all enjoyed listening to me talking about all 10 episodes of Season 8. So you know what to do, guys. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, leave your thoughts and comments down below, and I will see all of you next time. So till then, take care everybody and stay safe.